Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to my Sims 4 speedbuilding video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video I'm going to be building the world of Evergreen Harbour, which is the world that we got from the expansion pack The Sims 4 Eco Lifestyle, and I'm actually going to be renovating an apartment for a boy and a girl. So this apartment ends up having one bedroom and one bathroom, and it's built in the area of Evergreen Harbour where the Pinecrest Apartments are. Now, funnily enough, I don't think I've ever actually built in one of these apartment units before, but pretty much with the Eco Lifestyle expansion pack, it was kind of like a mixed bag because we got a handful of different like regular bog standard residential homes, but then also in the world of Evergreen Harbour, they gave us a couple of different apartment complexes. We have 2 apartment buildings and each building has 2 apartments in, and off memory, I think I've only ever decorated one of the apartments before, but yeah, pretty much this week. The reason why I'm calling this apartment a girl and boy or boy and girl apartment is because purely this was inspired by a content creator's apartment that I follow on TikTok. Now I know this is going to sound really strange, but hear me out. Basically, I follow this creator called Eloise Prin, and she's always on my TikTok For You page, but I mean I follow her, so I'm not really surprised by that. But she has got the coolest apartment I think I've ever seen. It's very like mid-century, retro, proper like groovy. It's just so snazzy and I just absolutely love it. And she always refers to her apartment as a girl and a boy apartment, and I always just see it come up on my TikTok page, and I always just look at the way that this couple have decorated their apartment, and I've just been really wanting to, yeah, just pretty much recreate something in the game that has a very similar feeling. So yeah, that is exactly what I did, and so I really hope you like it. But anyway, moving on from that and getting on and talking a little bit more about the build itself and also what I'm doing right now. So as you can see, I've already quickly started coming in and laying down the foundations for almost like the layout for this apartment. Now, like I said, this whole entire speed build was inspired by a content creator's real life apartment, which I know that might sound really strange, but can I just make a valid point that a lot of her content is based around her apartment because like it is really cool. And so like a lot of her content is like lifestyle, showing her apartment, showing how she makes it feel like really like jazzy and just cool basically. But a lot of the things that I've noticed in her TikToks from her apartment is they have a lot of like moody lighting. Now basically coming into this build, I really wanted it to feel proper like retro, mid-century. It's just a really cool place for, in my head, a really cool young couple. And so you can see I pretty much started off by placing down the TV on this back wall. Now I knew coming into this apartment that I needed to use this TV, and if you've never seen it before, it is just in the real regular like build and buy category, and the lights come pre-attached to it, and it is from the Party Essentials kit. Really don't use this TV that much purely because where the lights kind of like come attached to the TV, like I didn't add them in, it is a little bit difficult sometimes when you're trying to place a TV onto a mantelpiece and you know it's got lights attached to it. Plus also this is one of the very few curved TVs that we've got in the game. But yeah, no, coming into this apartment, I knew that I wanted it to be very moody with the lighting. I wanted it to feel really cool, really retro. I imagine that the Sims that live in this apartment, they never turn the big light on. Like I wanted there to be a lot of like mood lighting and like little lamps here and there. And so I just knew coming into it that yeah, I would use this TV. But you can see underneath it, I've already done a good chunk of like I tried to make Nook into like a built-in long cabinet underneath. The way that I did this, I just used some kitchen cabinets that, funnily enough, are from base game, but they are one of the more like updated swatches of them. But you know, I really wanted to have kind of like a long side table, or like just like a long table underneath where the TV unit is. But something that I did underneath the TV, which I just thought looked really cool, I just placed down this like black panel. You can see like it's like a long rectangle. It's literally just like a panel in the game, but in my head I was thinking it was maybe like a sound bar or something, if you're familiar with them. But yeah, underneath the TV area I ended up placing down some plants, some books. I always have like a sculpture of someone's head and you can kind of like see their brain, which looks really cool, and I just feel like just fits this whole entire aesthetic. But quickly moving over, as you can see, I'm already now coming in and starting to really take shape of the kitchen. When I was doing the lounge room, I did start playing around with some like pieces in the kitchen because I wanted you to be able to have your Sims sitting on the sofa, but then maybe their partners in the kitchen, maybe cooking them dinner or something. And so I knew that I wanted them to be quite quite close together. But one of the main things I really wanted to include in this kitchen is this particular painting, which you can see that I've kind of like moved away from the wall and moved objects onto a tall kitchen cabinet. Now the painting itself, I actually found when I was trying to look for artwork to kind of scatter around the TV, which the ones that I actually placed around the TV, and I will revisit the area shortly, but I placed down, it's meant to be like a retro Sims game, like poster. We got it from the Comfy Gamer Kit, and then currently I've got this yellow and orange painting. I ended up deleting that and replacing it with, in my head, what is meant to be vinyls on the wall. But you know what, I found this painting when I was doing like the initial lounge area, and I went through the swatches, and there is this one swatch of what I think is meant to be a French press, but then what it looks like the French press is actually on like the table is a green and white checkered print, and to me it just already went with the whole entire just atmosphere that I was trying to create for this apartment. Because you would have seen in the lounge room I placed down a green sofa. The one that I've got is from the Refined Living Room kit. But yeah, I saw this painting and I was like, that is so perfect, I want to include it in this build. So the way that I kind of did that little section, I actually got a really tall cabinet, which the one that I've used is from the Home Chef Hustle stuff pack, and I rotated it 180 degrees because initially I was going to have like a little bump out in the wall, but then I didn't like how far out the bump out for the actual legitimate wall is coming. And so instead of that, I just, I placed down this really tall cabinet, but then I moved it away from the wall, and then underneath it, I used this kind of like trolley looking item. Again, it's from the kitchen clutter kit, but I basically merged it into that really tall cabinet where I have like that French press artwork. And then I was thinking, well, maybe the couple that live in this apartment, maybe they're big coffee drinkers, maybe they just love coffee. And so I then tried to make it seem like they have almost like a little coffee making station in their kitchen. And so I have like the little kitchen trolley. I then placed down a like retro looking coffee machine. The one that I've used is from, I was about to say the kitchen clutter kit again, but it's not, it's from the restoration workshop kit. But in my defense, we got the kitchen clutter kit and the restoration workshop kit at the exact same time. And so yeah, but it is from, like basically like the garage kit, if you want to put it that way. And originally when you put it out the build and buy category, it's meant to be like rusty, dusty, it's broken, and basically over time your Sims are meant to fix it up. However, if you go into the debug menu, you can find a version of it that is already fixed up, and so I just placed that one down. And then next to it I placed down some mugs, and then I also placed down a little tiny spoon, and then behind it as well I placed down a little packet of coffee, which I imagine that is going to be put into the actual coffee machine. Now, I must admit, and I don't really want to say it because it is quite annoying, and I could very easily just not say it, but then I also don't want to be annoying if you don't like this build of the gallery. But I did play test this apartment, and unfortunately, it didn't work. Like, the coffee machine didn't work because the way that I built it, I placed it onto a kitchen counter, and then I sized down the kitchen counter and basically shoved it into the kitchen trolley. But I thought that it would be able to be functional because I've done stuff like this before. Like, I've placed down, say for example, a laptop onto a kitchen bar counter, sized that down, and my Sims could, interact with it. And so I assumed that it would work if I placed it down into this little trolley item, but yeah, unfortunately, I'm really sorry to tell you, it doesn't function. But if you download this build of the gallery, there still is going to be a coffee machine, but I've just placed it into kind of like the corner cabinet because then your Sims can actually interact with it. It is so annoying though. Like, why did the Sims team give us this little kitchen trolley, which is the perfect place to put down all the different random appliances that we've got in the game, but you can't place down appliances on it and actually have it to be functional? Just thought it was a little bit of an oversight on their behalf. But either way, in the kitchen, as you would have seen, I just basically finished it up. But I used some Home Chef Hustle kitchen counters and cabinets. But you can see I'm now revisiting the lounge area and basically doing a little bit of a switcheroo with like the built-in cabinets that I tried to create. Now, the reason why I decided to basically switch everything around is because hopefully you wouldn't notice, but in the kitchen I went for, them really like slim, kind of like half in size kitchen cabinets. I decided to use them on the majority of the walls, but then I'd also use them on the upper level of where I tried to do the little kitchen unit. And I kind of like zoomed out and looked at both the lounge area but then the kitchen area, and they had like the same size cabinets coming down from the ceiling, and I don't know, it was just throwing me off. And so I just basically decided to do a little bit of switcheroo. I used the same cabinets but just in a different orientation, if you want to put it that way. But you can see over here I am revisiting it, and initially where I had like a yellow and orange painting, I deleted it and I decided to make it look like this couple are proudly displaying some of their vinyls on the wall. Now, I have done this before. A few months ago, I built a like mid-century house in the world of Oasis Springs, and basically in one of the teenagers' rooms, I imagine that they were really into music, and so in that house that I previously built, I got the idea to use this one particular item in the game and rotate it and make it look like a vent. And basically when I was doing this apartment, I was thinking about it, and so I implemented it into this one. All that I did is I got this one circular vent, which is from the For Rent expansion pack, but when you place it down onto the wall by default, it's got a really like harsh shadow around it, and so I rotated it 180 degrees and then I pulled it away from the wall ever so slightly, so then the shadow would completely disappear. I then got a second of the same exact vent, but I sized it down much smaller. I then changed the colour. I used the like little middle in bit to be green on one of the vinyls and then red on one of the other ones, but again I just rotated it 180 degrees. I popped it into the middle of what I tried to make look like a vinyl, and I just thought it looked really cool, and it just really fitted the like vibe that I was going for this apartment. But over here, as you can see, I've started coming in and decorating the little like dining room space. Now I really struggled for this little section for a while, and you're going to see me struggle in the end. Basically where the fridge is on kind of like the left hand side, I end up building a wall and then attaching a curtain, because pretty much the way that I laid out this apartment in terms of the floor plan, you're walking through the front door, you get a bathroom on your right, you walk through quite a long skinny hallway, and that's when you're into the kitchen, the lounge room, and then also the dining room space. But I just had this one really long wall, and I was just really struggling knowing how to fill it out, and so I placed down this dining room table. The one that I've used is from the Business and Hobbies pack, and then I used the matching dining chairs around it, and then I placed down this kind of like, it's almost like a shelf wall decoration. It's from the Eco Lifestyle expansion pack, and then you would have seen I came in and I cluttered that up with loads of different like little knickknacks. I placed down like an old retro telephone. I placed down a statue of Bob Pancakes. Also placed down some more artwork, and then also a lightning bolt, like neon sign kind of thing. But then this is where I was coming in and looking at kind of like the initial entrance into this apartment, and it was just looking so honestly sad, and so I placed down some curtains to kind of cover up that window, and then also the front door, and then in a second that's where I re-add in a second curtain to kind of separate the hallway from the living space. But something that I really wanted to mention, because I made a very conscious effort of doing it in this apartment, I basically didn't want to alter the shape and like the front door location in case you either don't have the tool mod in your game, or maybe you're a console player, because basically the way that apartments now work in the game, you can add in your own windows onto exterior walls. You can't change the front door. However, if you've got the tool mod, you can very easily like manipulate where the front door is going to be. You can change the location of it, you can change the style of the front door. But for this apartment, I kept the ugly front door. Not gonna lie, it's a little bit unattractive, but I kept it purely because I didn't want to alter it too much, just in case you're someone who maybe plays on console and you don't have the tools available to you to be able to change the location of the front door. But then also I was thinking it just might be a little bit easier if you're someone that maybe you do have mods in your game but you're not really familiar of how to change the locations of the front door, and you want to download this build of the gallery but you don't know how to change like the location of it and stuff. And so basically what I'm trying to say, coming into this apartment, I didn't change the location of the front door, I didn't change the window by the front door. The only one thing that I added was a little tiny bathroom window in this room over here, but it's in a place where if you download this build of the gallery, you're not going to miss the window, because it really doesn't matter. You'll see what I mean in a second when I place down the toilet, because it's above the toilet, but if you don't have a tool mod, or you're someone that plays on console and you download this build of the gallery, the window won't be there, but just place down a bit of artwork and you're fine, boss your uncle. I just didn't want to alter the apartment shell too much, because I know it can be frustrating sometimes if you download a build of the gallery and someone's changed the location of the front door, which I must admit I've done it before in the past, but for this one I tried to keep like the original structure of where the front door is, try and keep the original bones. I didn't want to manipulate the apartment too much, just because that way I think it is much easier to download. Must admit, I did really want to change the front door though, because that front door, it just weren't matching the aesthetic of the apartment, but I held back and I didn't change it. But you can see in the bathroom, I ended up placing down a shower and bath combo. The one that I've used is from the Growing Together expansion pack, and then I also placed down a little toilet and then also a little sink area. I believe I delete one of the sinks shortly in a second, and I replace it with a washing machine and a tumble dryer. I did at one point experiment with or maybe they've got like a really cool like storage solution in their bathroom, or maybe they've got like a ladder or something, which you would have seen. I pulled out this random ladder. It's from the Island Living expansion pack, but I didn't like it. I then tried like a decoration from the bathroom category. Again, I didn't like it, and so yeah, I just placed down a little washing machine and a tumble dryer. But hopefully you can see over here what I mean now with the window being above the toilet. So if you download this builder for gallery, you would have to re-add that window back in. But do you see what I mean? Like, if you don't want to re-add it back in, it's fine. Just pop a little paint in there and yeah, you will be good. But in the bathroom as well, I decided to go for the toilet, which is from the Sleek Bathroom Kit. And then I changed out the sink because initially I had a Sleek Bathroom Kit sink, but then I thought the one that we got from, I think it's the Dream Home Decorator game pack, just went a little bit better. I did also place down a razor inside of the bathroom sink as well, if you was able to catch that. If you're curious, the bathroom sink it's still fully functional, even though there is a razor in the inside of it, but it was kind of like a little realistic detail to me. The actual razor itself, if you're curious, is from the High School Years expansion pack, and you can find it if you go into, the debug menu. It's meant to be for when your Sims, shave either their legs or their beard or whatever, but you can find it in the debug menu. And even though we have an electric razor in the game, we got it from the bathroom Clutter Kit. It's purely for decoration, but we do have one. I just always prefer the look of, like a classic razor with like a razor blade or something. And so, yeah, I just placed it down into the bathroom sink. It made the apartment feel a little bit more lived in a way. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the bedroom. So for the bedroom, something that I did, which I just absolutely loved, is I got this yoga mat, which is meant to be something that, your Sims can practice yoga on. But I rotated it using the tool mod, and I plopped it down onto the wall to kind of act like artwork. By the way, in case you're maybe like a console player, and you know how I said that I have tried to be very mindful and not manipulate main structure pieces of this apartment just so it was easier to download, even though I rotated that yoga mat, it will still come with the apartment if you download this build off the gallery. I just didn't manipulate any like main structure things like the front door or something. But yeah, I just thought this was really cool to use as a bit of like a feature of the bedroom. It's like I said, it's just meant to be a yoga mat, but some of the yoga mats that you've got from like the updated version of the Spa Day game pack, they're really nice. And I have actually done this before in, I think it was Penny Pizzazz's apartment in the world of San Myshuno, but the one for her, it was kind of like a figure of someone's body. But for this apartment, they kind of like yellow to orange to kind of like brown tone wavy detail. I just thought it looked really cool, and it just kind of like suited the way that I decorated the rest of the apartment. So yeah, I use a yoga mat as a wall decoration, but also in this bedroom as well. I ended up placing down the bed, which is from the Dream Home Decorator game pack, and then I decided to go for a wardrobe and then also a chest of drawers unit. The wardrobe, if you're curious, it's from the Business and Hobbies EP, and then the chest of drawers, even though it's from a different expansion pack, it still matches in the wood tones, but that is from the For Rent expansion pack. But in this bedroom, I really wanted to have a really big plant in the corner, but I was just a little bit cautious whether it would be usable or not, because the thing is, the plant that I originally wanted to place down, it was kind of like this really big cherry blossom plant, and it's from the Businesses and Hobbies EP, but it's just got such a big footprint, and so I decided to at one point remove it, and then I was going to replace it with just a lovely like base game palm plant. But again, I was a little bit worried that your Sims couldn't gain access to both sides of the bed, and so in the end I decided to scrap the plant idea, and instead I replaced it with a bookcase. The one that I use is from the Growing Together expansion pack. I've rarely ever used it, but yeah, I just felt like it fitted for this apartment. But other than that, I'm going to go around this room, finish it off and make some final details, and that is pretty much it. So anyway guys, I'm going to end this voiceover right here. As always, you can download this build via the gallery. My gallery ID is JessicapieYT, or if you search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, if you do like my content, then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedrunning video. Bye guys.